leading edge with Abie.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Makara, brother.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thanks for coming on me podcast.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me down here.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about getting you on for ages when I first thought about getting a podcast, and I just knew the stuff that you were doing was wonderful, and yeah, positive stuff, bro. And I really love what you do, eh?
Yeah, appreciate
And
it, man.
I've seen you on TikTok, and well, you're a huge influencer on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
And I think I saw you first doing some stuff. I think it was in a riverbank and like a little creek, and you threw bush in, and then you pulled all these. It was like fish, all these little fish out. I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, man, how deadly is that?
Yeah.
And I saw that. But did you want to just introduce yourself and who you are, where you're from, and who's your mob, and yeah.
Yeah, my name's Damien Kennedy. I'm proud Nampa man from out in Ivanhoe, New South Wales. I say New South Wales because people think I'm from Victoria because there's an Ivanhoe there as well, but it's Ivanhoe, New South Wales. Yeah. And that's where all my mob are from. So up from Ivanhoe up to Condo. Yeah.
So how big's Ivanhoe?
Now it'd be about 300 people, 280 people, roughly around there. But it used to be up to about 800 to 1,000. But that was when the railway was still operating. Yeah, they called it Railway Town. So and that was pretty big, like a big transporting and job stuff there. So yeah. But it's kind of shut down now, and the town's kind of slowly dying out, which is sad to see. But it was a lovely place. It was one of those places that, what could you say, you loved it but hated it at the same time. It was tough upbringing in that environment.
Yeah. So was it really tough because of lack of resources you had so far out west, or what, or was it just you had a tough upbringing, like with family stuff, or?
Yeah, it was just one of those places that was really tough in terms of like the employment thing wasn't a great opportunity there for a lot of mob, but there's a lot of drugs, alcohol, and a lot of violence. So as a young kid, growing up and seeing that and being amongst it was a hard thing. Me myself, like at the age of 8 to 9, I watched a person that meant everything to me in my life be, raped in front of my eyes, and as a young kid to see that's, it's a hard thing, and a hard thing to deal with, and to be able to watch that person walk out and then have a bit of a smile on their face and scruff you on the head as they walk out that door, it's a big turning point into the way that. From a kid that was happy and very smiling type of person to be able to quickly switch like that, from something like that, so that kind of led me down to a bit of a tough path, because that person as well, said, please don't say anything. I had to keep that with me for a very, very long time, and try and manage that and deal with that as a young kid, So it's tough, and a lot of people from that area have experienced similar stuff in different ways, but they've all got a story to tell out that way. It's a very tough place, to grow up in. But my mum, my family are very loving and caring people as well, very cultural people, and my mum worked really hard to get us out of that environment, and she did. She became a school teacher. Got a job and moved us out of there. So, but in saying that, the stuff that I took on and had to live with, that led into a different environment. So when we moved away, that's where I got into a lot of drugs and alcohol, and because I didn't deal with a lot of things, I was on a destructive path. So
How long did that go for?
So from about the age of 15, I reckon I started getting into the drugs and alcohol, and I went to about roughly around from there to about 24 to 26.
Mm.
Yeah, I tried like easing back and but giving up like say alcohol or drugs. If you haven't dealt with your trauma and things like that, you're going to continue to go back to it. So. And that was what was happening. And at the end of the day, I just had to take a deep look at myself and realise that, I needed help and I needed to do something about it. And it was going to come down to me. So, I just decided to work on my past trauma, work deep within myself. I got connected back with my culture, which was a deep thing. And that's what really changed things over, because I had a belonging. And the meaning behind like our culture, and the deepness within it, it can shift you from the moment that you're in, like the bad situations that you're in, into a nice spiritual path that you truly need to be on, So, that's something that I had to do. And it was hard, but, I got there in the end, and now I'm giving back to the community.
So what are you doing now?
So at the moment I manage a drug and alcohol rehab in Melbourne. So I support those that have got issues with drug and alcohol, mental health, and those that are incarcerated. So, I manage a place called Galliamble in St Kilda.
That's right.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a tough gig though, but it's good. Yeah.
You being the manager, so you're the manager down there at Galliamble?
Yeah.
It's an Aboriginal rehab.
Yeah.
Drug and alcohol.
Yep. So it's an Aboriginal rehab, but we accept non-Indigenous people as well. If they want to. There's a lot of non-Indigenous people that love being around Aboriginal people and the way that we do things. So, just the way that we are as healers, and our cultural components and our spirit, they love that energy. So, they like to be part of that. For their recovery, and it works really well for them.
Connecting them.
Yeah, connecting them. And there's a lot of non-Indigenous people out there too that have been brought up around Aboriginal people, So
on that low socioeconomic area, and that, eh?
Yeah, 100%. So, but they just love it, and we've had Irish people in there, we've had Māori people, people from all over. They come into there and do their healing, and some are going on to do bigger and better things, So that's good to see.
Well, Irish people are very similar to a lot of us blackfellas too. If you go over to Ireland and that, like their connection, their community and that is sort of similar.
Yeah, and especially with the alcohol component too, like it's like over there they have a lot of alcohol issues, So, and then coming over here and not dealing with their trauma and stuff that they've had in the past over there that ways, it's like you're saying, it's really related a lot. So being with us, they connect and they feel like they belong, and they're a part of something, which is good.
I had a cousin that moved over there to Ireland. He met an Irish girl, and he lives over there.
Yeah,
amongst them all.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to get over there maybe next year, and but he was telling me that they're like villages over there, and their villages are kind of like everyone's related. In a town or village, and it's kind of like that clan sort of connection. They've got with each other. They all seem to be related, and it's so it'd be interesting to go over and check them out.
100%. Well, down at where I work, Galliamble, like it's Irish, like crazy down there. It's all Irish pubs and all that. So so you see a lot of them there, but even, as I said, like a lot that do want recovery, they know that our rehab's there, so they, try to get in and whatnot. We help them out. But it's a tough place that, like, for anyone to come to Galley and do their recovery, they're in an environment that is very tough, because there's pubs and clubs all down there. There's, there's dealers across the road. It's a very it's a tough street to do healing, but if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere.
So you're right in the sort of city.
Yeah, on Grey Street. It was known as one of the worst streets in Melbourne. You'd have night workers out the front. It was full on. Actually, the first day that I got there and worked, it was a bloke that was just overdosing on the street, right at the front of the doorstep. You know, I
Mm.
was like, wow, this is the first day. Like,
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. And then you got to think you've got brothers and that in there that, you know, are trying to do the best they can, and, you know, they see stuff like that and that's where they want to be, you know. It's a hard thing. So, but, you know, you just got to put the work in. You got to show the love and support to them, and, you know, push them in the best direction you can possibly do, you know, set them up, you know, everything that they need, yeah.
So what took you to Melbourne? From Ivanhoe, how come you didn't come up this way, like Sydney way or?
Well, I did. I left Ivanhoe. We went to Hay as we were younger, and I think I'd met my the mother of the kids, you know, years and years ago back then, and
In Hay?
yeah, well, it was kind of just over social media and through a mutual friend, and yeah, she flew down, and that's just how that started.
So how many kids you got?
I got two beautiful boys. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. 9 and 7, yeah. So they're everything to me now. That's, you know, anything I do now is all for them, you know. So and you know, I moved up to Brisbane to be with her, and stayed up there for about 3 years. We had our first boy, and then we moved out to the bush, and yeah, she knew the life that I'd lived, and she just said, you know, you can do this. You can you know, you can give back to your people and all that. And it was the first time someone had actually believed in me too. So having that, I was like, yeah, sweet, I can do this, you know. And she helped me through my studies and that. You know, I didn't learn to read and write till about the age of 16, 15. You know, I couldn't spell it all, you know. So she helped me through that, and yeah, I ended up getting 6 diplomas now, and
That's mine.
yeah. So it just kind of kick-started everything then, and I just wanted to do everything I possibly could in the short amount of space that I knew that I had left, you know, because I'd wasted so much of my life, you know, just engaging in, you know, violence and drugs and alcohol, and I knew that, okay, this is how long I've got to go, so I've got to do whatever I can to change that around, you know. And yeah, and that's how it led into that. And then I went to Wagga, and I was managing a medical health team there, which was made up of domestic violence, drug and alcohol, mental health, social emotional wellbeing, youth at risk, and family youth support. So and they all had like 4 people in those teams, and they all had to manage roughly around about 15 to 20 people. So I had to oversee something like 140 something clients and staff as well. And then the opportunity come in Melbourne to run the rehab, and yeah, I took it. Actually, a mate from there that was the manager, he was leaving, and he gave me a call and said, man, you need to come down here. And I needed a break at the time too. Like, you know, I'd just been doing so much, and I was getting a bit disappointed with a few decisions along the way, and I thought, yeah, I need a change. So we packed up and we moved to Melbourne. Yeah, been there for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And it was hard too, because in that 2 years we moved all our family up there. Everything was, you know, great for the 10 years, you know, but, you know, went through the separation and stuff like that. So having to manage everything that was going on, and then have to deal with all my own personal stuff, you know, like that's probably the first time I've ever had a heartbreak, you know, like in terms of anything of, you know, of loving someone, and then having to, you know, find my way around everything, and, you know, and try and come out the best I possibly could for my kids, you know. So, but it worked out really well. We were very mature about it, and, you know, and we're doing really great. She lives here in Newcastle with my youngest, and I've got my oldest in Melbourne. Yeah.
And life's not easy for a man. And I don't think a lot of people realise that you have to just take things on, and there's no talking about it. You just move on.
Yeah.
And you do the best you can.
Yeah.
Because we're seem to be unties of knots.
Yeah.
And when you're a young man, a lot of the time you don't have those male role models around you that have successful relationships where you can get that information from.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like if you've grown up in a broken home where you don't have a dad around, you've growing up with a single mum or whatever. I don't know. I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying like any man really, like especially Aboriginal men and that as well. But we don't have too many strong male role models in our communities, and when we do, we really cherish them and love that advice. And did you have many around? Or
No, well, I never really got to meet my father till I was about 14, 15. So as I said, it was my mum. She had to raise 7 of us. It was only a 2-bedroom house. It was out in the middle of nowhere, red dirt, and you had to walk a good 40 meters to the toilet. You know, like it was tough. But my mum had.
So when you say 40 meters to the toilet, is it like an outside toilet?
Outside toilet,
like an old bush toilet.
Yeah.
Well, like a big.
Yeah.
You dig it out.
Yeah, dig it out,
oh,
and it was just a tin roof, and that was it. Like
that's old school, eh?
That's old school, yeah. But
so that was like in the 90s, and that.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, yeah. So, but yeah, and as we was talking earlier there too before. I was around that house too. Is not far from where my pop was just buried. He was just buried out in the dirt, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's no
no headstone, no cross,
nothing like that, you know. It's just buried out there, old school ways, you know. So, yeah.
Just dug a hole and just put him in it.
They did ceremony and stuff back then. And that's just how it was like. And roughly in that area too, there's about 5 or 6 others as well. Yeah, old school ways. So. You know, too, you kind of used to get a bit windy of things like that too. So if you had to walk from the house, you know, your little head's starting to think.
So he was buried like out in your backyard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, well, front yard, I'd say. Yeah. So that's just the way that it was way back then, you know. Yeah.
Nighttime, eh? You'd be running around and you just knew that old fellow was buried out the backyard or front yard.
Front yard, but at the same time too, like when you're a cultural person and you're kind of raised around stuff like that, like ghosts and things, you know, we're all changing our mindset because of movies, but Aboriginal people were one with all that, you know, we were really connected with all that stuff. And movies and things have just lost our way for our young ones, but, you know, back then it was just something like, it was always in your head, but, you know, you knew that's what it was, you know. But, it's totally different now, but, Yeah, but that's where he was buried, and a lot of others as well. So
So your grandfather, how old's he? He's still around.
Yeah, he's still around. He's 92. Yeah.
So what sort of influence did he have on you?
He had a big one. He was they were old school back then too. Like I said, if you got into an argument with another kid or anything, it was like you're in the ring. They put up a circle, and it was punch on, get it done with, shake hands and move on with it, you know, not like today's, you know, stuff. But just and cultural wise, and just really tough, hard worker. I remember when I left school, he was there the next day, and it was 6 a.m, and he was knocking at the door, and he said, "You get up, you not stay home." I said, "I just finished school, you know." He goes, "I don't care, you're going to get yourself a job today." And he put me in the car. We drove around to about, I think it was like 12:45 or something like that. Landed myself a job picking pumpkins and things out bush, you know. But that's what he was like, you know. You're not staying home being lazy and stuff like that. You're gonna get to work, you know. Your mother worked hard to get you to here. You got to do the same, you know. And it didn't matter what I had going on, whether I was mixed with drugs or alcohol. You still had to get up that next day. He would not let you slip, you know. But he was also one too that. He was a cattleman, and he saved up all his money, and he bought this transporting company, and it was to transport the mail.
Yep.
And little did he know, though, buying it, thinking, "Yeah, sweet, I'll make some money out of this, and I'll be the first black fella to have this big transporting job company along the back roads." He bought it. But the problem was it was a mail run as well, and because he was Aboriginal, he wasn't allowed to touch the mail. So, you know, he put all this money into it, and then when they didn't tell him, but as soon as he put all his money in and then he went to go and pick up the mail, They said, you can't touch this, you're a black fella, you know. So he just said, oh, you know, what am I going to do? This is, you know, I need to be able to get this mail from here to there, you know, it's important. I said, well, you can't do it. I'll have to ring up. So I don't know where they had to ring up back in those days, but it was something to do with the Queen and all that stuff. And they rang and said, so they rang up and said, oh, there's an Aboriginal man here. He wants to transport the mail. And they said, well, he can do it, but he has to have people there, and they have to be white people. They have to put the mail on, and they have to take the mail off wherever he gets to. So my pop just said, no, I'm not going to do that. And he took it. And he knew, because he knew that that was the only place that they could get the mail delivered in the back roads. So at the end of the day, they had to come to some type of agreement to make that happen. And I think he was like one of the first people out near that way that he could start to touch the mail and deliver it out to people.
When was that? Around what time?
I don't know I couldn't give you an exact time, but yeah, it was like years and years ago. Like, yeah. But yeah, I remember him telling me those stories. I was like, wow, you know, like not to be able to just, touch that mail, you know.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, crazy times. And I asked him, I said, was it hard back then? He said, yeah and no. Like, but it depended too. Like, he said that he had a lot of, you know, non-Indigenous people too that helped him out a lot as well, you know, to get into a position that he needed to be. But it was very hard in terms of government-wise and stuff like that. Like, they made it really hard on Aboriginal people back then, you know. Yeah, so.
Well, they still have laws now, the racist laws.
Yeah.
The race power law is one of them, that they can make special laws about any race in this country.
Yeah.
So Australia is, well, have a look at what's just happened with The Voice, and now it's a resounding no.
Yeah.
And you can see the historical what's happened, and now it's influenced people today, non-Aboriginal people today, in their choices.
Yeah.
And things like that. And it's crazy, the historical information that you hear from your elders and that.
Yeah.
About what they talk about, eh?
Yeah.
And how they weren't allowed inside towns and all that after certain times, or they'd get locked up. And my mum tells me some things about her family, and I think it was 1 o'clock in the day in Gunnedah where they weren't allowed in, and they'd be able to get thrown in the cells.
Yeah.
My nan and my mum's siblings and some, even as kids, and women and that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's law, Australian law.
Yeah.
Legislation, and I suppose that's what all this truth telling is about. We still keep pushing towards getting the truth out, the real Australian truth, and a lot of people don't want that out.
No, they don't, and it's a tough thing. And you know, my nan and pop, they've still got the dog tags.
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean. So
can you tell people what the dog tags are?
Yeah, so the dog tags are a tag that allowed the mob to be able to go into town and shop for food or get certain things, but it had a set time in it. And if they didn't abide by that time, they would get locked up, bashed, and stuff like that. So bashed by law. So that's tough, you know. And I remember Nan saying that she, not her, but one of her relatives got absolutely flogged, you know, for being 5 minutes over time.
Back to the mission.
Yeah, just flogged within that township, you know. She was heading back to the mish, right, but she was 5 minutes past her due time to be past the line, and she got flogged. Yeah.
So the line is where the mission was, the mission grounds or something?
Yeah, so they had a set line, which is where, you know, you could come into, which was an invisible line made up by them, but you got an idea of
the mission manager.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell people what the mission manager and what a mission actually is?
So a mission was a place where Aboriginal people will push from all over, so even those that were stolen, you know, from all over different areas of the country. Like you might have Barkindji people move down to somewhere on Wiradjuri country, wherever a mission was there, you know. So they were all pushed in to like a reserve, a mission area, and
like a concentration camp.
Yeah, pretty much like a concentration camp. And it was a way to be in control of them, you know. It took them off their their homeland, stripped them of their, their cultural ways, their spirit, broke them down, took the strong black Aboriginal man, broke everything they could away from him so that the family could suffer, and just really did everything they could to belittle and take power from Aboriginal people. It was a horrible thing, and especially if you got people that can still tell that story of their ways back then. If you can sit around and listen to it, it's quite heartbreaking.
How old was your pop?
My pop, so how old is he now?
Yeah.
So he's 92. Yeah.
So he'd have a wealth of knowledge in.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That's crazy.
100%.
Because there's not many Aboriginal men actually get past 50.
No. And his mother, which is my great-grandmother, she lived to 105. She still speaks all the lingo. It's all in the museum in Canberra.
Yeah?
Yeah. Old ways, And my nan and... so my nan's father, and he fought in the war and that, but he had a block of land, and when he went to the war and come back, they'd taken that from him, but they gave everyone else land and stuff, but actually took his. He actually owned that stuff, so,
Yeah.
And then he got sick, but he come back and he got well and then went back again to fight for, our people and the Australian people. And, and then just come back and he passed. But my nan said he was a different man, changed man. And her pop, he was a spirit man. He was scarred from head to toe, He was he was a clever man. So, and we've got photos of that of him as well. So
that's mad.
Yeah, it is. It's really deep cultural family that mum's on my nan's side. Yeah,
you're very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. Very lucky to be just brought up around that stuff as well. And be shown that from uncles and, aunties and that as well, that were part of that had that passed down and that, so.
And that's what a lot of your content I see is on TikTok.
Yeah. Because that's how it kind of roughly started too. I got on TikTok and that, and I was looking around and the mob, we're funny people, so they were just making comedy stuff after comedy stuff, and I give it a crack. I'm not that funny, but I thought, well, what can I do, and I looked around and I looked on YouTube and Instagram. There wasn't much cultural stuff, and I thought, well, I know that I'm gonna ask the mob back home if I can start sharing some of that stuff. So I went back, I got permission, and every bit of content that I do, I still go back and ask, is it all right if I share this, because there's a lot of stuff out there that I'd love to share, but they won't give me the right to do it, They'll just say, no, not that boy, that there's for men only and no one else can see it, or that's for only women and so on, and there's like little hunting and fishing things and that, that I'd really love to show, but they say, no, that's for our people, Yeah, so I still show that respect and I ask that permission before I go and do it. Or they tell me that I can do this and I can share that. Like the same with my artifacts. Like I'll make artifacts and people will ring up and say, can I buy them? But my mob won't allow me to sell them, you know what I mean? They say no, because it takes away the significance of it, the cultural, spiritual stuff to it, But I'm allowed to give it away. Or if say if you were to get married or you're having a special day, I can make that for you and give that to you, or, all your cultural stuff that you make and do, we can trade, but I can't sell it. And the same when I used to do cleansings and ceremonial stuff like that, their smokings and that, I never ever charged anyone. Like if someone passed, I'd go and do that for free, you know what I mean? Because we could never put money on it. As soon as I did that, that was breaking cultural ways, and the old people back home, that was it. You'd be punished, because it takes away all the meaning to it. So I stand staunch with that with myself, I don't break it. I stick to it.
Yeah, steady.
Yeah. So, and that's what I do. So I just share the little cultural components as much as I can. It's about trying to empower the young ones, And I think that since doing that, it's opened up a lot of doors now. You have a look on TikTok and Instagram, it's pumping out with a lot of people doing Corlemans, making artifacts, And that was what it was about. It was to get those young ones going, and be real proud of who we are and what we can do, because we're a very loving and caring culture, very respectful culture too. And it's about, connecting back with that to be able to get out of the environment that we sit in, because it's a tough environment that we're in. So, yeah.
So what's next for you?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I got myself to this year. I want to change something up. I want to either start up a rehab, or I want to. I've had opportunities. I'm looking down this way myself to be closer with my young boy. I don't know. And at the same time, like, I want a bit of a break too, from it all. That's a lot that I've done over the space of 14 years of giving back, it's a hard thing, I've lost a lot along the way, like a lot. And it's a hard, it's a hard thing, like, when you give and give and give, and things just don't work out the way that they want sometimes, and you lose a lot along the way, and you've got to kind of assess yourself and work out where you're going to go from here to, I don't know, maybe make your spirit a lot more stronger into where you want to go, and I want to be stronger. I've got my two boys, and that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, so you're at that crossroads, but you got so much to give, but a lot of people probably watching this now will probably be blown away with what you can share with people. A lot of people are looking for that connection and identity, and you're obviously sharing a lot with the brothers and girls down at the rehab as well. Melbourne, and I know that a lot of young fellas like, you've got a relationship with my son, and I know he thinks very highly of you and what the knowledge that you've got and you can share because you've been there and done it. And a lot of people are in this space, but they haven't been there and done it.
Yeah, that's it. And then that's what it's about, really, too. Just, sharing a bit of my story of how I got by, and what I had to do. And it was hard work. It was hard work to get to there. It wasn't easy, but that's the beauty about our culture. It teaches you that too. You don't take the easy road, you take the hard road.
Do you think that responsibility for a lot of young men these days is they get taught to go and drink and party and all this for a while, for 10 years of your life? Whereas back in your grandfather's days, he got married early from an early age. He had kids early. He would have had responsibilities. And it taught him what he had to do as a man to stand up. Whereas a lot of our young fellas these days, they're sitting on the games. They're not working. They work part-time. They just, life's pretty cruisy. They got no kids they have to worry about. It's kind of like they're still in kid mode.
100%. And that's where you look it down to our cultural law, and it starts off with the 4 circles, the birth, the core, the aftercare, which provides the spirit of the 4 circles, and these young ones, they don't have that, and our old school people, they followed that to a T, they had structure, they had everything that needed to be able, not getting sidetracked into nonsense. These young ones, they get to the age of 14, and the ego and that starts taking over, and women, that's what it's about. It's just about women, chasing the women around and trying to be cool, trying to be the coolest out of the group. And that's where it gets lost, and if they've got trauma and stuff as well, that will push a big drive within that period where, from the age of 15 to 20-something of just partying, and I was in amongst that part, but as I said, the cultural part pulled me out of that as well. I had a very loving family as well. That I was blessed that they gave me a lot of love, because having that love too, and knowing that I was loved, got me out of those tough positions. So it's a tough thing, especially on these young ones. The young ones, as I said, the young ones that do come into rehab, some do it. They might do it pretty good the first go around, but you get some that come second time and third time, but they'll get it in the end. They're just lost at the moment, and their mindset, they're not consciously aware of life, the true meaning of life, and what it means. So, and when they come to a place like I'm at, I try to instill that, and I try to educate them so that they're very aware of what it's, you know, truly like to be an Aboriginal person, and what family and, you know, the land and all that means to us, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of getting sidetracked, you know, worrying about the little things. That all comes down the track, you know.
Mm.
But you're in control of the way that you move and shift in life if you do it the right way, you know.
So what do you think for the next generation? What's the answer for our young generation now?
Culture.
Culture.
Like, yeah, culture in terms of us all, like having a look now with everything, you know, with all the cultural stuff that's going on social media, you know, we're feeling that empowerment, you know, that drive now. Younger ones are like, yeah, I want to get more involved. And when you start to get more involved, you start to understand the true meaning of everything, you know, and I think that's what's lost. There's no meaning to anything for these young mob no more. It's just, I want to do this, I want to party, I just want to kick back, you know. But when you're doing the cultural stuff and mixing and mingling with, you know, brothers like us, that, you know, I've learned a lot from you, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that you would have taken some stuff from me as well.
100%.
But that only happens if we're sitting around having a conversation, you know, clean and doing cultural stuff, which we have, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm blessed because I've learned so much of you from some of your stories, you know. It's like, wow. And it all makes sense too, because some of the cultural stuff that I do, it ties in with it. You know what I mean? So it's mad, like, but this is what's not happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just lost. And doing this type of stuff, it's empowering the young ones now to try and start to take lead and, you know, do a lot of cultural stuff. I've had a lot of people in there, you know, get back out on country and go and cut a coolaman, you know, and understand it and what it means, you know, and how happy they were to write that message to me, you know, because they were in a dark place at the time, you know.
Yeah.
So that's good to see that and hear that, you know, from other people. It means might be helping someone out there, you know, on a cultural sense, you know. So, but I've run cultural camps and that as well, you know, back home on country. I saved up my own money, everything like that, and ran those camps as well. And then they got funded by an organisation, you know, and they still run now. So,
certainly.
Yeah. And me and another brother to change what, you know, there was a lot of troubled youth in Wagga at the time, and me and a brother boy named Kurt Simpson, you know, he's got a mad story himself, you know. We got together one day and we were just driving around the streets and said, you know, we actually were meeting with the council and the police and all that one day, and they brought up these statistics of how much money has been spent on fines in the rough areas like Ashmont, Tolland and that. It's close to like $1.2 million in the space of 2 years just in Ashmont alone. So what? You know, and it was all on petty fines, like, you know, a kid riding around on a push bike with no helmet. And they started to target these areas because they knew that the kids weren't going to give a shit about it, and the fines were just going to build up, you know. So then me and you know, and a lot of the breaking and enter, you know, because, you know, mum and dad were out, you know, having a good time, socialising and whatnot, and kids might have been left alone, you know, might have been hungry or whatnot. So they started doing breaking and enters. So me and the brother decided to start up a program called Deal, and we used their own money. We went around to shops and all that stuff, like butchers and all that, got them to give us stuff for free. And we started getting kids off the street, you know, from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night. We had 150 something kids come off the street, and then the police were watching in the distance, you know, and we were running educational groups in amongst it, and the police were watching it, and then they come to us 4 weeks later and they said, you know, while you boys were running this stuff, we had no crime in this area. And we said, oh man, that's mad. And then with that, then state government got wind of it, and they gave us $260,000 in funding, and they turned it into a program, man.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's just finding the little things and then just putting the work in. And sometimes you just got to take a risk at life, you know, and use your own money to back yourself. And at the end of the day, you know, something comes of it. And if it doesn't, it didn't matter, because me and the brother were just happy to get the lads off the street, you know, and have a mad time, you know, and a good laugh with the young ones as well. So, yeah. So we did things like that there, you know, so.
That's deadly.
Yeah. So, but that's what it was all about, you know. Yeah. It was roughly like my life in a short space, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mad, because But I'll get you back on again anyway.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it was
100%.
awesome having you, eh?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, my brother. Thank you for opening up your home to me too, and bring me down. I had the best sleep of my life, I'm telling you right now. And I've said that to you a couple of times, but I can't get it out of my head,
Yeah.
Because as I said, my head does 1,000 things, Well, it's got a lot going on, so to be able to come to a cultural place and just be at peace and have a nice sleep, it meant everything to me,
Nah, it's mine.
Yeah.
Like, I love you having you around and just yarning with you and that because, I'm learning heaps off you as well. You're a lot younger than me, but you've been through a lot more than I've been through too, and different things that you've experienced in life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, that's it. And as I said, like even having the yarn with your mum, man, that was mad. We stayed there for a good few hours,
Yeah.
But to hear that, it reminded me of what my nan would tell me, and my pop, and that they were shared similar stories,
Yeah.
and it's tough, man.
Yeah, growing up in those small country towns, eh?
Yeah. And just to see the smile on your mum's face, to be in the position that she's in now, and her to say thank you to you guys, to be able to give back or put her in a good position,
Yeah.
because it was hard for her, but she just kept poking away,
Yeah. That's that consistency, that strength, eh, in our elders.
Yeah, 100%.
To get us to where we are right here, right now, having this conversation about talking about different things that affected them and their stories are finally getting out through us.
Yeah, that's it. So, hopefully things will start to change over in time, and us, I think we're in a good position to be able to make better change now too, with all the culture and all the, leaders out there, like even football players, like you look at Latrell and things like that have been, doing a lot of cultural stuff, his farm stuff, and, going around into communities and giving back, he's got a tough thing to do, but he makes time for that, and I've seen that happen, like, just off the back end of him, in communities, and just to see the smile on their faces, those little things is what drives the young people.
Yeah.
Because then they go, you know what, I want to be just like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all we need. They need that little spark,
Yeah.
Because having that spark may make them go, well, I don't want to be in drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I want to be just like him. And in order for me to be like that, I need to be like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to see people like that going around to communities and giving back and, sharing their culture and just even empowering other people. Like I've noticed a couple of high up celebrity people as well, they'll grab your page and they'll share it, you know what I mean? And that's good to see, because then that message gets out to a wider audience that don't get to see it,
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've got to start doing. There's back in the days, well, I wouldn't even say back in the days, still kind of happens sometimes. Mob are quick to drag someone down, and we've got to stop that. We've got to be really starting to support them and push them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because we've got to be out of this position that we're in. We've got to be the front or the face of our own, our own lives, our own country,
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So I like to see it happen more where, these people are in a good position to be able to start to share other people and empower them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much.
Deadly, my brother.
Love you, Damen.
Love you, my brother.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
See you next time.
Yeah, deadly.
So I want to get you back anyway.
Yeah, man.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers, bro.
Living on the leading edge of Abie.